very happy to announce one of your own local heroes here on stage, Taskin Goec. He is a mixed reality designer and workflow architect at Studio Taskin. Please start.
Hi. So I would like you all actually to take a moment first and imagine something in front of your inner eye. So imagine this, a photo of a person wearing a luxurious brown bomber jacket and a matching miniskirt. So I think we all probably have something slightly different in front of our inner eye. We might agree on what a bomber jacket looks like, the length of a miniskirt, but what makes it luxurious, what makes it desirable? It could be the way it's made, could be the materials, could be that it has a very unique cut, could be that it's actually a very timeless and classic cut. So all of these are associations and ideas and things that you bring into this vision. When I asked Nano Banana Pro, which is one of the frontier AI models, to imagine the same thing, this is what you get. These images are technically okay. There's no mistakes. We don't have like 6 fingers, and lighting is okay. But they do feel like they don't really have a point of view, right? They look a little bit generic, and you might say that this is one of the issues with AI. I'm saying that actually it did exactly what I wanted it, which was to give me the average of these words that I used as input, which was luxurious, brown bomber jacket. So in a way, it did exactly its job. But then in fashion, obviously, we don't work with random averages. In fashion, we want the exact opposite. We want to have full control over the details and the subtle differences between different styles. So this is the same general concept, but a different version. So this is my version of a brown bomber jacket with a matching miniskirt, which I think is interesting and luxurious, which is something that I would find desirable as a piece of clothing. And I used more or less the same tools, except that it's not a single prompt process. It's a multi-step process. I had to divide this whole process into small, manageable steps. And so the tools are the same. It's just a different execution, and most importantly, it's a different vision. And I want to speak about vision really briefly. And when I say vision or distinction, I'm immediately thinking of this infamous scene in Devil Wears Prada where Miranda talks about Andre's blue sweater, and she says that her blue sweater is not blue, and it's not cobalt, and it's not Klein blue. It's actually cerulean. And that is the kind of surgical precision that we need when we're working with AI. So we need to have a very, very clear vision, and we need to be able to articulate it. And another example is that when I work with clients, they usually work with keywords, right? So brands often use words like elevated or playful or approachable when they prepare a brief or a concept for a campaign. Now, the thing is that these words, so let's use playful, they mean very different things to different brands. Even like if you think of Prada and Miu Miu, they are both same parent company, they're similar universes in a way, but playful means something very different to Prada than it would for Miu Miu. And as a collaborator, it's my job to understand those differences and those nuances, and to make that also understandable to the AI. So it's basically creating the right input that steers away the AI output from average and towards that very specific idea of what playful is. Is it more subtle? Is it more in your face? Is it exuberant? Is it romantic? So actually, when you're given these keywords, that's when the actual work of articulating and refining begins. I also pulled out this AI image, which is one of the very first images that I generated with an AI model that I trained on my previous works when I was still mostly designing clothes. And so that was an AI model that was trained on all of my archival sketches and prototypes. And so I asked this model to generate a silhouette in my style. And this is what I got. And I found it interesting because there's such a similarity in terms of the volume and the way the silhouette is created between this 2023 version and the 2026 version. But of course, these are entirely different images in terms of like the quality and the detail. And when you look at it, you might think, okay, the technology has gotten so much better within the last 3 years. And it did. But actually, that's not the point I want to make. The point I want to make is that also my vision, my idea of how this silhouette is translated into clothing, also that got much clearer. And I had to refine that over years. So on the left, you see this kind of volume, the idea for how you can construct a jacket. But then it takes, like, it's a long way to understand, okay, how does this translate into an actual cut, and how, where are the zips, and all of these details are not, they cannot be left to chance when working with AI. Also, there's more context. So, I mean, the person finally has a face. And also, you have to think of the way it's presented. So, as an AI artist, you don't just think of the silhouette, but about the visual language, the posing. It's really kind of a holistic approach to creating visuals. And when I say context, I'm also thinking about the backgrounds, for instance. So on this more, like I would say, this more generic approach on the left, you're seeing Paris in the background, recognizable with the architecture. But in my prompt, I never mentioned Paris, right? I just said, show me a photo of a luxurious bomber jacket, miniskirt set. So it didn't give it context. And so what happens is that AI, being quite literal, it has to come up with something. It pulls references or associations. And so suddenly you have this kind of cliche idea. On the right, there's no background, except that there is. And in this time, I specified it. And I had to say that it's not only a white background, but it's a white studio wall. So we are inside, and there's natural daylight. There's even the suggestion of a window, because you have the light of the window being cast. The lighting is actually quite imperfect, so it looks quite spontaneous. It doesn't feel very retouched. Thinking about the visual language and the atmosphere, there's a confrontational gaze, it's a symmetric composition, but it also feels almost documentary, as if it was backstage. You have this analog filmic quality, as if it was shot maybe on an analog camera. So all of this is information that you have to translate into input in order to get something that matches your vision. And once you have that, then you have a workflow with input that is ideally stable and scalable and reproducible, and then you can iterate. So here you see the same silhouette, but in 3 different versions with slightly different lighting variations. There's always this focus on tactility and material, of course, and it goes into details like the cuffs of the jacket being different. You have this kind of fuzzy mohair rib knit in the middle, and then this distressed cotton rib on the right. There's even differences in the level of halation, which is this kind of glowing effect, and the right burned, like almost burned out edges. You see, especially in this example. So all of this has to be defined in order to have full control. And once you have that control, you can also work with current runway collections, which is quite fun because you have access to all the looks in the world. So this is a preview from a project that I've been working on recently, where we worked with looks from Dior and Dries Van Noten, Alexander McQueen, Mordries, and then On Tracks and Camper Lab. So we have different looks, we have different backgrounds, and we have different models or faces, of course. And I want to speak about faces real quick because it's a really interesting topic. It's part of this multi-step process I talked about in the beginning. So it's again something that you don't want to leave to chance. So when it comes to creating synthetic humans or AI faces, what makes it difficult and interesting is that you need faces that both combine something that's super individual, like something that represents an ideal, but also something quite like you want to look like an individual. So you have this contrast of something super individual and it wanting to look like a human person. And when I say ideals, we might think also of biases, because AI does have biases, of course. But I would say that the ideals that are being represented are your ideals if you can reflect them and if you can articulate them. And this is also the reason why I would always suggest not to use words like model or beautiful. I don't even use the words fashion or editorial, also because all of these words come with certain associations and certain cliches. And so we try to move away from these words and try to find something that's more specific. There's also elements like the asymmetry in the face. That's something that makes a person look more human, skin texture, all of these things. And once that is established, you can create literally any face for any brand and make it match exactly their philosophy and their universe. A few just like snippets from more commercial and diverse projects where, of course, custom faces were integrated, but also, more than that, custom visual languages, custom motion patterns, backgrounds, visual textures, more digital, more cleaner, sharper images versus more analog, romantic, washed out, VHS-style textures. So, in a way, it's all figured out. I mean, it's a stable workflow. You can recreate it. You can adapt it to any brand. So, in a way, this might sound quite finished, right? The thing is that it's a bit like with learning a new language, where you have a few rules that you learn in the beginning, and then you have a ton of exceptions. So this is what makes learning a language quite difficult and arduous, is that you have all of these exceptions, and with AI, even the rules keep changing. So even this like great framework, this basic level of rules keep changing, and so this is why I usually say that I'm not loyal to my workflows, and what works today might not work tomorrow. So what this means is that I am doing constant research and development, and I keep changing the prompts, and I update the prompt libraries. And in between all of these kind of commercial projects, I kept building this own universe in a way, which is the result of all of this research. And it's quite, it's a universe that keeps expanding. It's becoming richer and richer. There's signature elements like these arched sleeves that you've already seen like many times. So there's different characters that keep reappearing, techniques, textures, and so it's an ever-growing digital universe. Again, this is just a few fragments of this world. And I hope I could make you step into this world for a moment. Before I finish this keynote, I want to bring this back to the title, which was AI Fluency, Building Worlds at the Speed of Thought. So I was hoping that you might think this means fast, like building worlds fast, which is not entirely what I meant. So building worlds at the speed of thought, what I mean with that is that we are now able to build worlds at the speed of your thought. So how fast can you come up with a vision that is precise, and how fast can you articulate it and turn that into input that you feel like you're having control over. So in a way, the bottleneck is not really the technology, the bottleneck is us, the users, and we can build worlds at the speed of thought, but it's not just the speed that matters, but it's also the thought. Thank you.